Right into this. We started this a few weeks back called A Strange Salvation, and just kind of looking into what that could possibly mean, or like if there's a deeper, Hebrew meaning. And not gonna go over this whole thing again because it's on the channel. But just giving a little bit of context, it started with the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and it's how it says, "They shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for." So we kind of jump into that word and some examples of uh, strange salvation. But before that, we started with plagues and reading Second Barak or Second Baruch. He asked, Baruch was the scribe to Jeremiah. So he was during the time before they went into captivity of Babylon and during the captivity of Babylon. Like some got sent off and some stayed. And I believe he stayed. He didn't. I don't believe he went. But if someone checks behind me, I have no pride or ego to be corrected. But I believe he was instructed to stay behind, and Jeremiah was sent. But he asked the Most High. He said, "These things that are to befall the earth, is it just like one area, or will it befall the whole earth?" And the Most High told him that it's gonna befall the whole earth. So um, I went over some of these things that was written because a lot of them just are repeated. So like he told Baruch or Barak, he told Ezra, he told Moses, he told some of the other prophets, and there's this book called the Apocalypse of Abraham as well. And you see a lot of the same things with the plagues, and we went over those. I wanted to just briefly go back to this just specifically for what Miss Joy was bringing out and asking people last night. So one of the plagues that the Most High says is you're gonna see is the fiery burning of cities. And if y'all just sit back and think, or do a AI search, or do a Google search, or a TikTok search, you can see like even I mean the past decade really, um, but especially through the COVID time and through now, even earlier this year, we're seeing multiple like major fires, like where it's a lot of destruction. And it doesn't say how the fires are going to happen. That's what gets a lot of people tripped up, whether it's the Most High allowed a man to create something that shot the ground and it created the fire, or the fire sparked from the Most High Himself, and he used the winds to blow it. Doesn't make a difference. The Most High said that the cities was gonna be burning, and that's what the key in the situation is. So we covered that, and I know that a lot of you all are up familiar with that. And then I made a video showing how California, North Carolina, Japan, all of these places were on fire. And I don't want to play that video because we have some other ones now. But this is on the channel. It's on my social media as well. Shamaria um, on Instagram. But Miss
It's
Joy,
shocking
Miss
video.
Joy was bringing out that they had fires now in Jerusalem, and I had seen that they had fires in Jerusalem as well, but it's a little different sometimes when you got to get up and talk in front of everybody. So me and Miss Joy and Anthony and her husband, we talk about these things a lot, but I didn't really respond because I was gonna just talk about it today. But so the Most High told Baruch that in the ninth part of all the plagues or things to come, that it's going to be the fall of fire. And he told Abraham that you'll see the fiery burning of cities. So we know that it's been happening kind of in all over the world, but especially in the United States, which a lot of us believe is Babylon. But now in Jerusalem, where we know that it's trodden down by the Gentiles, even this area now has began to catch fire. And of course, they always throw little caveats in there about how things could possibly have started. and really is really irrelevant. But we'll play this video, and then if I think there's one more, and then I will maybe if you guys have seen anything or have any comments, we can go from there.
Yo, this is just crazy. Jerusalem is on fire. And at the same time, they're facing a sandstorm. Massive wildfires have erupted just west of Jerusalem. It's multiple wildfires that are just raging in Jerusalem. Horrifying videos, horrifying scenes of just mass destruction. Look at this. This is a little bit of detail of exactly where these fires are. Take a look at this. Reports have also come out that they have allegedly caught someone with this lighter, cotton, tissues, and lighter fluid that is in custody, but it's unknown if that's the individual responsible for starting all these fires. But once again, 2025, another crazy wildfire in the world. Just take a look at that. And now, on top of all that, take a look at that sandstorm that they're having on the other side of Jerusalem. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in this area and this region. This is just too much to comprehend. And as for me, a lot of this is just not adding up. Too many coincidental wildfires across the world that are burning out of control, and then to have a sandstorm on top of it. Is this something of biblical proportions? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
So, they question things, and, I don't know, is it this or is it that? I mean, all we got to do is just trust the word of the Most High. He didn't say it was going to happen in just 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however long it was going to be, because time to the Most High is different than time to us. But we can believe in the Most High's word, and that it is the Most High, and he told us that these things were going to happen, and we've been periodically, seeing things over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to play one more, and then that way we got the full context, and then anybody can feel free to comment on how they feel, or have they seen something different, or whatever the case may be. So it's just one more about the same subject.
Nope, this was never supposed to happen, as biblical fires are burning our cities to the ground and our final days are among us. People were terrified after the fire in Jerusalem was not like any fire they had ever seen, being labeled as not only the biggest in history, burning almost 170 acres every hour, but burning things that normally do not burn. With even the Bible warning in Amos 9:1-8, our Lord near Judgment Day will burn all of Israel, targeting their corrupt religious centers, with haunting scenes showing the fire going straight to just religious monasteries and memorial sites, exactly like the Bible predicted. But it gets worse, as many experts are saying these fires cannot be from Earth, with over 100 locations bursting into flames at the same time with no reason. Other theories suggest with the rise of attacks and dry climate, this was likely going to happen regardless.
This is said to have been the biggest fire that the country has experienced. Israel has become more prone to wildfires of this kind in recent years, with experts warning that climate change is just going to make it even more prone.
So they said that this is the biggest fire that Israel has ever experienced, and the fires are bursting out of seemingly nowhere, according to them. And of course, they're going to throw caveats in there like, oh, I found this guy with some toilet paper and a lighter, some lighter fluid, and then they're going to throw in the climate change propaganda. But again, the Most High told us that these things would happen, and we see them happening. So did anyone want to unmute or have any comments about the fire or what we've seen so far?
Good morning.
And you could just unmute anytime, but I'm just skipping through to the next part that I wanted to touch on. But it definitely seems out of the Most High's playbook to me. So I kind of went through that. last time we got to the word stranger or strange, and the word, one of the most common words used was this word czar, and we came from the angle of um, the harvest and the Most High's harvest and the harvesting tool. Um, and we talked about that symbol and the function of that symbol, the za, which is representation of like a weapon or a sickle, agricultural tool, and how it was used. Again, this part is just kind of speeding through just because we went over it and it's on the channel. I didn't want to hold y'all too long today, but we're gonna revisit that word as well. And
Sahara Desert is
so we're going to revisit that word and come at it from a different meaning, and then we got scriptures, to show as well. So I kind of already introduced this part, but starting with the fires, but just at the time that we're in right now, and I spoke about what we were fasting for, or what we are fasting for, and these changes, and it's a lot of things going on that may cause us to seemingly be inconvenienced temporarily, but we don't know what the Most High's plans are. But these things that I mention and bring up is not for anyone to be fearful. It's not for anyone to be afraid. It's for us to be aware, and also to show wisdom and be wise, that we know that the Most High is ultimately really the only thing that can really take care of us or save us in the time of calamity. But when it comes to certain things that you may have to do to help yourself, in a sense, just be prepared. We just always want to be aware and watchful of the times we're in and things that's going on, and I'll explain that better in a second. But I want to know if anyone has any comments about this, and feeling like the time has been sped up. And we say it all the time. I know me and Naraya talk about it all the time. A lot of us talk about it all the time. And I see people on TikTok talk about it all the time. But just, I felt like it kind of fit in with what I was going to be talking about today, and kind of having it as an open dialogue if anyone wanted to share how they felt about it. But this just random people on TikTok. I just picked one, so we'll go with see how he feels. He ain't saying nothing like, he's just saying how he feels in his mind. But we'll start with that.
I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm not the only one that feels like time has been accelerated, like it's speeding up. And I mean that literally. I don't mean it in the way, sometimes people will say when they get older, oh, the older I get, the faster time goes by. Yeah, I don't mean it like that. Something is happening right now where time is actually speeding up, and I feel it in a very real way, especially this year, especially this past month. Like, it's crazy, but I don't know what's going on. I'd love to hear what you think. Like, what do you think's going on? What are your theories? What are your thoughts? I want to know, because this is something that has been really intriguing me. I've been feeling it. I've been talking to other people. They're feeling it as well. So something's happening. Not really sure what it is, what's going on. Intuitively, I know that it can mean that we are experiencing some kind of collective shift in the consciousness of humanity. I think that's happening as we move into the age of Aquarius, but I don't know. Like I said, I want to know what you think.
So of course, like I said, he don't, they're gonna throw their theories on there. We're entering in the age of Aquarius and this and that and the third. But I definitely been feeling like the time's been speeding up for years, and especially more noticeable since we went through the period of COVID. And it's been like 5 going on 6 years since then, but I can remember so many moments from that time period like it was yesterday. And I saw something today that I was like, really? What? Like I saw, and this is like a secular thing, but there was that big rap thing between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, and they had a thing on Twitter that said a year ago today. I said, what? I mean, that feels like it just happened, and they saying that a year has already passed, and then just thinking about where we're at right now for me, um, we're already a few days into May, and it's like we was just complaining about the pagan holiday season, the Thanksgivings and the Christmas, and Easter is already coming and gone now. It's like it's to me, I mean, it is blooming. It is booming as far as the speed that I'm seeing with the time. I mean, walking in and out of work every day. I noticed when the trees were turning colors, and then bare, and then the other day I walk outside and everything is all of a sudden full bloom. And it's like I know it's gradually happening, but it seemed like it's happening like over like a day almost sometimes. So um, again, the Most High has already told us about these things. So if anyone has never heard this before, the Most High in a book, Second Baruch or Second Barak, there's a book where he, again, the scribe of Jeremiah, the Most High told him this in verse 1 of chapter 20. He says, therefore, behold, the days come, and the times shall hasten more than the former, and the seasons shall speed on more than those that are past, and the years shall pass more quickly than the present years. And so then he says, therefore, I have now taken away Zion, because at the time Baruch or Barak saw the captivity of them being taken away to Babylon. So he says, I have taken away Zion that I may more speedily visit the world in its season. So the Most High already said that there was going to come a time um, where this time is sped up, that the days and the seasons are going to speed on more quickly than the present years from when he was speaking to Barak. So did anyone have any comments or thoughts about that, or any personal testimony or feeling, etc.? If not, no problem. You can just unmute at any time to speak your piece. But for me, I definitely experience it. I feel like I see it, and I'm noticing that the time is being sped up. So all praise to the Most High for having His word to let me know and let us know that this was going to happen. So we've always heard about the latter days and things like that, where it speaks on the wars and rumors of wars, and we always immediately go to physical combat. But I started thinking about the trade wars, the tariffs, the taxes, the infighting between countries based off of money. And that would be considered a war as well. So we know that if you've been seeing anything on the news, there's been a bunch of issues between President Trump and China, and wanting to adjust how we're taxed and tariffed on goods and transportation of those goods in other countries. And so he has raised the tax on them. I think it's up to like 145%, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the numbers I saw. It could be even more, so don't quote me on that. But it's causing an issue to the point now where our ports are beginning to be empty, especially on the West Coast, to where we're the ships and that hold the big containers where all our products come from, especially things. I mean, everything really. But I mean, just think about when we went through the COVID period. It really caused a big issue in things like the auto industry, electronics. So if your car broke down and you needed to get a car part, then it would take you months to a year to possibly receive your part due to the issues of the shipping and things that was going on at that time. So now the same thing is potentially on the horizon, but for a different reason, and it's because of the tariffs, which is pretty much like a tax on the goods shipped or bought and purchased that are made in China and other countries as well. But some of the other countries are more, I guess, working with him more so than China is. And China is like the largest manufacturing area in the world with all the AI technology they have, all the warehouses they have, and all the cheap labor that they have. So what they're telling you is the reason why is because they want to quote unquote bring jobs back to the United States. And we can get into it more the next time, into some of the details, if I have more time to actually like to make it to where everyone can understand. But I didn't have that time at this time. But um, some of the things I've seen and come to know and come to learn about the situation is that it's really not going to bring more jobs back to the United States because we don't have the manufacturing capabilities here anymore that they do in China. We don't have the warehouses, we don't have the labor, manpower, because the amount of money that they pay them, a lot of our people are not willing to accept to do those types of jobs and work those types of hours. And the incorporation of technology and AI in the making of goods and services like shoes and clothes and car parts and all of these different things. But I learned a lot from this guy who has a clothing collection, a black guy that has his own clothing collection, and he knows about the manufacturing process because he works directly with those factories that are in China. So and you know, he's not from the spiritual aspect, but you know, even he was saying, he was like, well, it wouldn't be because they're going to bring jobs and things like that back over here. And we know that they have to destroy everything in order to create a new system, a system of control, a system of eventually to the point where they can monitor pretty much all your purchases and everything that you do. Like if you go to Whole Foods, you can see where it says scan your hand here if you want to pay. Of course, we're so used to tapping our phones or our watches, but you know, it's getting to the point where you can put a chip in your arm that has your, or your wrist or hand that has all of your banking information in it, and you could just scan your hand and pay for your food. So right now, all the money is not tied into a digital system. But remember, the president Trump, he said he wants to be the leader in digital assets and cryptocurrency and things like that. So it's not making a declarative statement on that this is, you know, the mark of the beast, or this is anything in particular. It's just to say that for us to watch and pray and be aware of the things that's going on around us, and to prepare the best way that we can. So this video is going to kind of just give some backstory or what they're seeing and what's going on. I had two videos on this as well, just to have more than one witness. And I think in the beginning she said something about the money in the banks. I'm not focused on that part right now because I can't validate that part as much or substantiate it, so I'm not really paying attention to that part. But just to focus on the ports, the tariffs, and some of the effects that it can have on us.
The banks are out of money, the ports are out of product, the line is out of up. We are in the calm before the storm. We're in this odd waiting period where the impacts of Trump's tariff chaos have only really hit the speculative economy and not so much really hit the real economy where, actual people exist. There's a huge gap between the time when a product ships from China to when it arrives in the US on store shelves. We've basically been existing off of products that were shipped before Trump announced his tariffs, which meant that they were still reasonably similar prices, but that is about to massively change. Trump's tariffs on China are so high that they're effectively a trade embargo, and we're seeing a rapid slowdown of traffic at all the major ports, and very soon, Chinese ships will just not dock here. You hear about trillions of dollars being erased from the stock market, and it doesn't feel real because you wake up and your day is basically exactly the same. But trillions of dollars in terms of trade being evaporated is actually going to have a major impact on your life because America is a consumer economy. And this economic hit is unavoidable. Even if Trump decided tomorrow that he wanted to undo those tariffs, we are still going to plunge economically, probably into a recession. And we know that economic uncertainty breeds political extremism. I think the Trump administration is purposely taking us back to the 1930s level of economic instability so that they can have a do-over in the massive political reforms, but instead of moving to the left, they're going to move to the right and regress us even further.
My computer hates when I play these videos and do too many things at once, so if you hear a little buzzing, it's like the fan is trying to keep it cool, I guess. So I'm not saying that this situation is this. I'm saying, like I said, let's pay attention because maybe we can start to see how these things like we see in Revelation could be possible or could come to pass. So Revelation chapter 6:6 in the Amplified version, it says, and I heard something like a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, which would be a day's wage, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not damage the oil and the wine. So basically saying that, the cost of bread would be so high, it would be equal to what we would make in a day of working. So seeing all of the things that we've already seen up until this point, we know about the term inflation, where things that were valued lower in years past are the same item but now valued at a much higher price, like the cost of gas, the cost of eggs. We've seen skyrocket in some places at certain times have been, $9-10. But as we continue to see, if we get to the point where, which is already to the point, you can kind of look up and see how many ships are docked or in a certain area in all of the different ports, and they are becoming pretty scarce. So if things become scarce, then obviously the value of those things would go up. And like what she was saying when she said right now it's like the speculative area, basically she's saying it hasn't come to our front door yet. We don't feel the effects fully right now of what's going on, but it's kind of like a snowball rolling down a hill to where it's coming, and then once it gets rolling, you can't roll it back. So because of the way that the process of shipping with the shipping containers and the ships going from like China to the port of LA and et cetera, that is a very strenuous, long process. It's even to the point where individual companies own certain amount of containers and ships, and they got to contact those people individually just to do the loading and all of those things before they just put the products on a ship in a container and then bring it over. So what they're saying now, and there's a video that'll give some more explanation to that, is to the point where even if they change today, it's not going to turn around at least for the rest of this year, because the things that usually, I think they're going to say it in the video, But like for the pagans who celebrate Christmas, the things that they would have prepared and ready for them in Christmas, they would have ordered and stuff by May. So that's the type of process that it takes in order for this shipping thing to kind of run smoothly. And when the Most High said wars and rumors of wars, it a trade war, Cold War, all of those things to me, it just hit me thinking about it. Should factor into play. So I got one more video on it, and then if anyone wants to comment, they can. And I think Naraya asked us the question in a chat a couple of days ago, so I'm gonna try to remember to speak on that as well.
On the whiteboard, this is something you pointed out. Okay, it's something called blank shipping, right? All right, blank shipping. So I'm just going to draw a container ship. Blank sailing, sorry, blank sailing. Blank sailing. I'm not going to put a sail on it because it's a big cargo ship. But you got a big cargo ship here, okay? Usually it's full of cargo on the top. Beginning of the year, these ships leaving Asia, 0% of them were skipping ports. They were going to every port. They were picking up what they had. Containers were full. 100%. Okay, now 40%. These are the numbers you're pointing to, Dan. As many as 40% of these ships, guess what? Okay, bypassing ports. So inventory's down 40%. And ships have to go when they have to go. You can't just sit around and wait. So they're going with just a few containers on them. Just these half-empty, who knows what, from 0% to 40%.
And just think about what it's going to look like over the next week, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And that's ultimately, that's why deals need to get done, because this is what business leaders from e-commerce, across every industry are basically saying, like, time's ticking, and guess what's going to happen? Shortages, massive price increases, and that's what, look, we just talked about, for the U.S. consumer hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's come, remember, it goes back, like, it's like being on a beach, and all of a sudden, like, you're in the ocean, there's no water. Like, oh, this is crazy.
I'm going to run out and check it out.
I'm going to run out. You're like, no, it's because the tsunami's coming. So the point is that the reality is that he needs to get deals done.
But this is this question, Peter, that I'm trying to understand. With China, a deal doesn't just happen with the snap of a finger and a go. I mean, at least there would be nothing to indicate that that's how it's going to happen. But we're in a situation where if you look at the ships and you look at what's happening, right, that can be a blip. Only if you have an immediate sudden change afterwards.
I'm working with a guy named Andrew Sofko, who runs a company called Batch. We've talked about how AI is coming into the logistics space around trucking in the United States, and how complicated that is, and how important it is that every little check, the trucks have to be full, they have to be on time, all of that works. Think about it, when you're only going at 40% inventory, that's going to start, so the ship lines are going to be losing money. Everybody is going to start losing money.
You don't get your inventory, then I don't get mine. They don't get theirs.
Then if it opens up back up, those are all late.
And then you even talk about, you're talking about even like Christmas. Like the point is, but that's what we're dealing with.
And the retailers and small businesses, and we talk about the stuffed animal company, they're saying they put in their order for 80% of their sales Christmas by the end of May.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's normal.
That is the lead time for this thing. And that's the lead time that's going to start affecting when it starts affecting food and all kinds of other, look, you saw that with Target and Walmart. Actually, the CEOs of a lot of the retailers went to the White House apparently to talk and say, this is real for us.
And how do you price it? Because you don't know what you're pricing. And you've talked about that.
Huge uncertainty. Well, here we are, another weekend, and again, the market hoping, right? Because the market's saying, got to be a deal because the alternative is so horrific it can't contemplate.
Correct. And then, look, the market felt strong. There was the advances versus declines were good. The buy side felt like it was buying with intent. So there are buyers in the wings, right? And there must be smart money thinking that a deal has to be made because the alternative is really ugly.
So, they kind of just gave more detail to what I was just talking about. And, he even said, wait till it starts affecting the food, etc. And, the Most High talks about this in Revelation as well, and I'm not saying this is it, just again, to open our minds and start to possibly see like, okay, this is possibly a way that these things could come to pass. where he says that the fourth seal being opened and the palish green horse, um, they were given authority and power over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, but to also kill with famine. So just something for us to keep our eyes on and pay attention to as we have seen these things start to happen. And Abijah, he said, one analyst said it would take nearly 20 years to build the infrastructure needed to produce raw goods. So he's saying that, I believe, as a witness to back me up on what I was saying about how them placing these tariffs will not bring jobs and manufacturing back to the United States like they're promising that that's what they're aiming for. And we just don't have you would have to, like he said, over the 20 years, no offense to anyone, but you got to think about how many people, even like the older generations. I mean, there's some stuff that technology wise, I mean, I don't even know about or how to do, but the type of training that it would be required to be able to train these people, to be able to work in the warehouses and to operate the machinery and to yep. And then he said, then train the workforce. Exactly. So we kind of saying that at the same time. Um, it, I just don't want it because, you know, sometimes people see these things and uh, they speak on it as if, well, it's a good thing because, you know, you should want to bring things back to your country and blah, 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 blah. It sounds good. It sounds good. But we got to think practically and realistically. Um, we haven't invested in the buildings, the land, uh, the technology. Like a lot of our stuff here or their stuff here in the United States is still so old to be the modern day Babylon. If you go on Instagram or TikTok and look at the futuristic looking cities that some of the other countries like China and them have, and the high speed railways and all of these different things, um, it's nothing like that over here. So when it comes to manufacturing, it wasn't just the fact of, like, I believe it was the 80s or 90s, to where they started the practice of having corporations go to have their things built overseas for cheap labor. And now we got to think about how many years have passed since then. So it didn't happen overnight to get to this point. For them, they've mastered the process of being able to create these goods and things like that. Whereas we just, from this nation, been purchasing. We haven't really been manufacturing them. So he said, yeah, mid 80s. Mid 80s, Tazabah said that it started to where the big corporations started using the labor force from other countries. And so like a place, let's say like Nike shoes, even if you put these tariffs on China, they've already said they're still not coming back over here. They will just go to the next place like Vietnam or some of the other Asiatic countries. It's not gonna just automatically say, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna, bring my people and bring the operation to the United States," because we don't even have the capabilities to do what they need to be done in the first place. So, with that being said, man, it just seems like it's a ploy, or even it could be the Most High using a spirit to lead them to think that this is what they should do, but the whole thing would just collapse and crash. And Miss Joy said in Matthew's 24 verse 22 through 24, she says that except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved, but for the Most High's elect, those days shall be shortened. And that's absolutely correct. And then she wants to talk about Revelation 18. And it says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, "What city is like unto this great city?" And those two chapters I've been reading, Revelation 17 and Revelation 18, over and over and over again this week. And that part right there stuck out to me with the ships, with everything that's going on. So that leads me into what Nariah had asked. He asked a question to a few people and said, "Do we think that this could be the issue with the tariffs, a reason why the scriptures talk about how a lot of people will begin to flee into their own land?" So um, I didn't answer that question at the time, but I was, thinking about it, and obviously it very well could be one of the reasons. Um, but also it just made me think about what I talked about. It made me think about what I talked about today, as far as the tariffs being the reason that the um, the seals from the seal in the pale greenish pale horse, where we go through the famine and the prices of food is exponentially higher than it has ever been. So I feel like the tariffs will relate into that. It could relate into people fleeing back to their own land. And then I was just standing in the bathroom one day, and the Most High dropped the thought into my mind. Not saying these things are it, just for us to think, and just thinking together, just the possibilities. But I was like, well, what if they're clearing the ports through this method to use the ports to take us back on ships? Because I mean, you got to have room for ships to be able to gather the people and then to take us out. So I was like, I wonder if like the clearing of the ports on, because it's not even just the West Coast in Los Angeles, which is like one of the bigger ones, but is also on the East Coast as well. So I just had a thought drop into my mind on if that was the case. Like, what if that is what's going on, where the ships are getting cleared out so we can get ready to get on some ships and go back to our own land. Uh, Abijah also said perhaps abandoned cities, like in the book of Eli, and that is a very strong possibility, because the Most High talks about abandoned cities as well, and he says where the land will talk to one another and say, "Have you seen a righteous man go through here?" So we know those things are coming. Jeremiah 50:51 talks about each man going back to their own land, and for America that is very prevalent, because it has people from all other nations, kindreds, and tongues. So we have a lot of people here. Like, for one, we have come to the knowledge that we're not African American. We're Israelites. The difference is we were discontinued for a moment from our heritage, so we don't know exactly where we're supposed to go, um, and we don't have an assigned land to us broken into parts the way that the Most High did when He had Moses and Joshua lead us into the land. So we know the Most High has to restore all of those things back to us. But we have people from China here. You have people from India. You have people from a bunch of the European countries as well in this land. So and of course we know we have the South American population as well. So it's a hodgepodge. It's a land of confusion, Babylon, which is one of the meanings for that word, the land of confusion, a mixing of people. So that everyone fleeing to their own land could definitely fit that narrative. So did anyone want to unmute and share any thoughts they had about the situation?
Con, just really quick, uh, can I be heard clear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All praise to the Most High by Hashem Yahweh Shah. His goodness, mercy endures forever. Just you mentioning the wars, the rumors of wars, and everything else that you've been talking about, it definitely sparked my mind to consider all of the types of warfare, informational warfare, which is why cybersecurity has become such a thing, and of course, uh, bio warfare regarding like vaccines and disease, and of course the terrorists and trade wars and all of that stuff going on. It definitely makes me think of even me working at a grocery store, seeing how much of a spiritual warfare it is in regards to all of these things. And the reason I say that is because when I working in retail, especially doing what I do regarding the food industry, shows me that this wickedness is not about money. It's not about, greed and money per se. It's about a spiritual hatred of one people group to another. And my example to that is when it comes to if these people who are in power were genuinely trying to innovate and create that utopian lifestyle, that quote unquote American dream, then things like seeded fruit, who are people, and I was talking to Zamar the other day about this. At this point, people would be willing to pay $20 to $30 per seeded watermelon if it were just available to them. But the company that I work for, and I won't say their name in case we're streaming, the company that I work for gets them in the warehouse and purposefully destroys them and puts out the seed left watermelons just because they can. So not only that example, but you see different examples throughout the earth. I'm pretty sure some of you might have heard of the different patents that these engineers have created to make an engine that runs specifically off water. But I just say all those things that this warfare is just it's different types of warfare, and it just has my mind going on how this thing can be forcefully and intentionally collapsed by the people who are in control. But I'll yield with that.
All praises. I mean, I agree. I agree. I agree. It's definitely a lot of wickedness going on, and ultimately, we know the Most High is in charge uh, of everything. So um, we just kind of got to let these things play out. Did anyone else want to unmute? Okay. So jumping into the last part here, wrapping this thing up here. I just wanted to revisit the word "zar" for strange, and the next time we're gonna go at what could have possibly have been said from another perspective, but this is the second perspective, I guess. Um, so the word "zar," we know we talked about the Most High's harvest or the Chief's harvest. Um, if anyone would like to just, if you have any guesses or thoughts about what this could mean from a different way, I'm just gonna put all the meanings that I changed. I changed some of them, but you can just blurt out what you think it could mean. While I'm waiting for that for a second, Abijah said Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 11. So let me see what that is talking about. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. It says, and for this cause the Most High shall send them a strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Absolutely. Yes, sir. And he says that he could see the word meaning to press man or pressing man. Absolutely. That's one. Anybody else? So um, the angle that we want to come at it right now or today is pretty much what he said in a way, but to cut off the head or to crush the head, press, crush, cut off, and the head can represent the head like literally, but it's a figure of speech to mean a changing of authority. So so the salvation being strange could represent the cutting off of the head or the crushing of the head of the current rulership to switch over to the Most High's rulership through his son, YAHAWAH, Zar, to crush the head, to cut off the head, right? So we know there's a prophecy. I didn't put it in here. I'm just going to speak on it for a second. There's a prophecy in Genesis chapter 3 and 15 where it talks about the issue between Adam, Eve, and the serpent, and the bruising and the enmity between her seed and his seed, and the bruising of his heel and the crushing of uh, the serpent's head, right? So because it can be kind of mystic for people, and I didn't put that in here to go over that, to say that that is related to this for sure. But when you look at all the other verses, it definitely can be. But that's just one that I just kind of like a throwaway in a sense, if you catch the lingo that we use. But um, to crush the head, or to um, change the rulership, you can see an example of that when we get to Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. And I'm not going to try to go through everything and then break it down and say, because some people believe these things have already happened, and some believe that these things are things to come. And, so that's not really the point at this moment, specifically, like each and every verse and line. But when you go and look at verse 4, it says, and his tail drew a third part of the stars of the Shemayim, or the heaven, and did cast them to the Arataza, or the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto the Most High God and to his throne. So that is speaking about the Messiah, that is the one to rule all nations with a rod of iron. The rod of iron is representation of the Most High's instructions, or his Torah. And the child, the Messiah, was the one that was caught back up to the Most High and to his throne. As we know, he sits at the right hand. He sits at the right hand of the Father. So he is the one to change over the rule, to cut off the head, to crush the head of the other ruling nations, and to be the one to rule himself. And we're going to continue to get that as well. But a witness of the issue or the situation with this is found in Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1 through 15. And I'll just read it straight through. It says, now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least of all are not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Yasharallah. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, or Bayat-Lacham, the house of bread, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. And when they heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return unto Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Verse 13. And when they departed, behold, an angel of the Most High appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring the word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Just like it was saying, as soon as the child was born, the adversary would come and try to kill the child as soon as it was born. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there unto the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of YAHAWAH by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. So, like Revelation 12 was saying, that the man child was brought forth who was to rule the rod of iron. He's the one to crush the head of the nations, the czar, which would make which would be that word that they use for strange. And we just see how it played out, that they was attempting to destroy the young child, Yahawashi, as soon as he was born. And we know that after that, all the young men that was 2 years and old were ordered to be killed, because he was just trying his best to, get rid of that one that was supposed to overthrow his rule. So let's get another witness to that in Luke chapter 1, verse 31 through 33. Luke chapter 1, verse 31 and 30 through 33. So this is the angel talking to Mary, and it says, And behold, you shall conceive in your womb and bring forth a son, and you shall call his name YAHAWASHI, which means the Most High, Yahawah's salvation. And he shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest, and Yahawah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom shall be no end. Of his kingdom shall be no end. So for his kingdom to rule and reign and be no end, there has to be a overthrow, a cutting off of the head, a crushing of the head of the other rulerships before him, which to them would be strange, but to us would be wonderful, right? So, just continuing on, so you can hopefully kind of start to see the imagery and see the picture of what's said to be going on here. Daniel chapter 2 continues this theme that we have. Daniel chapter 2, and obviously we know this is before you get to when he was born and everything like that, but Daniel chapter 2 and 44, this is dealing with the statue of Nebuchadnezzar that he saw, which he saw the statue, and then he saw the statue being destroyed at the end. It had a head of gold, midsection of silver. Then it went down to like brass or bronze, and then iron mixed with miry clay. Um, so this statute that he saw in his dream, he wanted to know what it meant, and then Daniel, through the power and spirit of the Most High, told him what the statute meant. So verse 44, he says, in the days of these kings and in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou saw that stone that was cut out of a mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elohim hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is sure. So he's basically telling them, like, this is a done deal. This is facts. This is gonna happen, and we've already seen a lot of it already happened, because he told them, that the head of gold was Babylon, silver, I believe, was Medo-Persia, which is today Iran, and then it just went on, so on and so forth. From there, each kingdom, until we got to the fourth and great kingdom, which is still in rulership today, and that's under Rome. So the stone made without hands to come and crush the kingdom, you see it striking the feet here, which will topple the rest of them. And that's why I said figuratively, when we see the word czar, so the za being to crush or to press, and then the head of a man representing rulership or authorities or kingdoms, or the head meaning figure of speech, the head of whatever kingdom is currently ruling or reigning and running at the time. So that makes sense to me, why that word would be used for strange when it says that they'll see the strangeness of his salvation, because to them you have the czar coming, the one to crush the head of the kingdoms, and your kingdom is being destroyed. But to the Israelites, again, that would be a wonder. But let's get a little bit more. So we get Psalms 110. Psalms 110, which is like a prophetic song, because obviously we know that King David is writing it, but the things that he's writing about couldn't have been about himself, and it has to represent the Messiah. So we'll read the whole thing and then point out the key point that's on the screen. Psalms 110:1 says, Yahawah saith unto my master, sit thou at my right hand, until I make thy enemies thy footstool. Yahawah shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion, and rule you in the midst of your enemies. Your people shall be willing in the day of your power. In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning, you shall haste the dew of your youth. Yahawah hath sworn and will not repent or turn back. That would be what that would mean. Yahawah hath sworn and will not turn back. You are a priest forever, after the order of Malach Tazadok, or the righteous king. Adonai at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook of the way. Therefore shall he lift up the head. So you can see the imagery there. He shall wound the heads over many countries. Czar, to crush the head. If anybody, if that makes sense to anybody, you could just put a 1 in the chat, or if you want to unmute, just to make sure I ain't tripping or I ain't crazy. But Psalms 110 speaks it out verbatim, like very clear, using it word for word, almost crushing the head. He shall wound the heads. And that's why I said it's like a figure of speech, because it's not necessarily just someone's head, but head meaning at the top of the nation. So if it was this nation, we know who's at the top here. If who's the nation of China, we know who's at the top there, for an example. And I was like, wow, I mean, these Hebrew words really, have a lot of context and stuff to them that you don't get just from the word strange, right? And the last one, it says, I think it's the last one. Yeah. Revelation chapter 19, and that's 11 through 16. Revelation 19, 11 through 16. Cool. So Revelation 19, verse 11 says, And I saw the Shemayim open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. He was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite, crush, press, destroy the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, Torah, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress, press, crush. To get wine, you have to crush the grapes. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty Elohim. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Adonai of Adonais. So basically, Zar, Mashiach, Zar, salvation, or Zar, Hawashai, the destruction of the heads of the kingdoms is going to be a judgment and a salvation. A judgment to them, but a salvation to us. And it's strange because they going to witness the Most High's divine authority, Yahawashai's divine authority. And obviously, they build up these mighty militaries, and they may be expecting a physical fight, which we know some of that is true, but the ultimate rule is going to come by a divine hand. That's strange to us, and to them. But it's also wondrous as well, because the word that Solomon could have used, because they translated it from the Greek, so the word that Solomon could have used could have meant to wonder, or be a wonder, or be a marvel, to be something magnificent. And to us, the return of Christ to come and destroy the other nations would be wondrous, to be magnificent, would be a marvel, and plus all of the other things that the Most High has said that he was going to show us. And with that being said, we're not talking about it today, but that's the next angle that we're going to come at this salvation from being a marvel, which would, and it's the ancient Hebrew word pala, and it can be marvel, or a wondrous works, or a wonder. Like the Most High says, and I'll have you as a sign and a wonder. So there's like two words for wonder, at least that I've seen so far. But when it's talking about a miracle, this is one of the words that's often used, pala. So we'll get into that, Most High willing, next time. I don't know when. It could be this week, but I know we had a lot of people get some pay increases over the last couple weeks. So That's why we're having to work overtime in my department to make sure we either had to wait until they got the pay increase, or they were separated before their pay increase, and we have to delete the pay increase so that they didn't receive it. So I don't know. I know we got some OT and stuff like that going on, but I'll continue when I get time to build upon this. And the Hebrew word we'll use next time is pala. So that is so far a strange salvation or a wondrous salvation. Did anyone have any questions or comments? You feel free to unmute.
Hi, Shalom family. It's good to hear everyone and see everyone on the call. Definitely miss you guys. I just wanted to, well, first say the Wada Shamaria for the teaching. It was very timely just with everything going on in the world. But just as you were speaking and throughout your teaching, um, Matthew 25, the parable of the 10 virgins, was just like really ringing in my spirit. Just like the importance of always having oil in our lamps, in these perilous times, and just, really prepping and preparing for what's to come, and just having the Most High always at the forefront of our minds. And I know that, like, throughout the fast that we all just completed, that's something that he really was getting on me about, just time itself, and not, wasting time and just putting things off, like, oh, I'll pray in an hour, or I'll pray tomorrow, or I'll fast next month. Like, no, do it now, like, seek the Most High when he shall be found. So yeah, it's just all praises for that, the water for the teaching again. And then I also just wanted to say this too, felt led to say this, but just as some like encouragement and a reminder to, well, for everyone really, but specifically for the people who just got off the fast, just to beware and be expecting spiritual warfare. Because I know, like, when I fast, just for me personally, you can really be like on a spiritual high, and then and obviously like experience warfare throughout the fast, but especially when you end it, Hasatan like is not pleased at what you just did and how close you feel to the Most High. Because I know, like, the day that I ended the fast, like, I just felt a lot of warfare. So yeah, just as a reminder to everyone to just really put on your armor, and just be ready to like withstand the attacks of Hasatan. So yeah, that's it. But all praises, and love y'all.
All praises, love you too, and absolutely to pretty much everything that you said. And yeah, just and just be mindful. I mean, not to, you don't have to go crazy or anything like that. We're just saying be wise. If you go to the grocery store, maybe pick up an extra bag of rice or something, an extra box of pasta, here and there. You don't have to go crazy, because we know ultimately the Most High is gonna provide all the things for us. But just saying to be aware, to be wise. If there comes a time where, you know, which we went through, where certain things were gone from the stores, and people like to hoard shop. So it's not the end of the world per se. It's just that because of certain news and things of that nature, that they've created an inconvenience through a shortage of toilet paper. So just saying, just prepare even for those, what we would say, small things. So not to go out and you know just go crazy or anything like that, or be fearful or anything, but just be aware, and be wise. Tazabah Bijah, you had your hand up.
The water. All praises to the Most High. This everybody. This class was definitely timely. Is what my spirit been feeling. Most of my katabs during the week for prayer has been about the prophecies of provision and protection. And if you can get Second Ezra 16 and 40, I'll yield with that. But this is why we rehearse the feast days. The feast days are for us to remind our generations about the Most High's greatness. He doesn't forget. He doesn't need to be reminded of what he's done for his people. I mean, he's better than an elephant. So we rehearse the feast days to encourage and remind ourselves, and to teach our children his history, And all praise to Sister Joy shared that Revelation 18, because that's what popped in my head. As even when they started to show the images of the I don't know if y'all remember a couple months ago they were showing the images on the news of the trailers, the trailers just sitting out in the ocean. They couldn't dock. And that Revelation 18 is coming to pass, and the Most High doesn't do anything instantly. Like, he can, but if you read the scriptures, even when he parted the Red Sea, the scriptures say he caused the east wind to blow all night. So he can do things instantaneously. He could put us back in Zion in the next minute, but he doesn't work like that. So all these prophecies that he's given us for assurances is happening now if we're paying attention. So that's why I give all praise to the Most High for giving us these witnesses and for your efforts. With that, I yield. I just wanted to offer up Second Ezra 16 and 40. The water.
All praises. And yeah, so definitely in agreement with that as well. And the Most High, I believe the reason why He doesn't always do things in an instant fashion is because we're quick to be unappreciative. We've seen, even though they went through 40 years of the wilderness, as soon as they got to the promised land and things were going good, they turned to other gods. So this whole final captivity has been a chastisement to really get his people back in line and in order, so that when he does bring us back, that we won't turn from him again. So even with the Exodus, it could be a flash in the pan, but going with what we've seen before, it may not be something that's very speedily. It may be over time, and that's why I even said, like, what if it was this year the ships were cleared out, next year they still don't strike a deal, now the ports are completely empty. There's a video I seen on TikTok where a dude stays by one of the ports and he can look out his window and he saw that it was just one ship left. I think he was up there near the Seattle area. And so it was a whole port just empty with no ships. But that one. So who knows what the Most High is gonna do? I just like to have these periodically to where we can discuss, hopefully maybe bring encouragement, comfort to somebody, um, and all of those things. So bringing out Ox precept is Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 40. It says, "O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and in those evils, even as pilgrims upon the earth." So just letting us know that don't be tied down to the things that we have in this time and in this life in this earth. Don't be tied down to your job. Don't be tied down to your home. Don't be tied down to your cars. At any given moment, we will have to give these things up and be as pilgrims, you know, going to and fro wherever the Most High Spirit leads us. And we're just praying that the Most High leads us with a clear voice that we are capable of understanding. Did anyone else have anything?
Shalom. Yeah, I did. I think, well, yeah, first, just to begin, the water for the class is very edifying for myself. And I think one of the last things you said when you were just talking about the phrase strange salvation, and you said that, potentially that word could have been used in our language as pala or wonder. It kind of made my mind go to a scripture that I've been meditating on as of late, found in Exodus chapter 15, verse 11. And in this context, Moses is giving the Most High glory for what he did by overthrowing the Egyptians and parting the Red Sea so that they could be led out. And he says, "Who is like you, O Yahawah, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. You in your mercy have led forth the people whom you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. So yeah, that just kind of, my mind went there. And even just looking at that paradox of like the Most High salvation being good to us and salvation to us while simultaneously being judgment, to the wicked nations. So yeah, just wanted to add that in there.
All praises out for that powerful witness, man. And it goes to kind of what I was saying, like when I first started thinking about this word, I was like, man, this was a tough one because it can be saying so many different things. That's what I was stressing, like when I first did the first class. And so I talked about the harvest, and now we talked about the crushing of the head, or the change in rulership. And there's some more scriptures on that as well that maybe I'll bring out next time, but that we can see that the Most High told Baruch and some of the others, but also going into the wondrous part now. And you see here, like you brought out, that the Most High, the one who is fearful in praises, doing wonders. So he's always done these wonders for our people. And I was going to talk about some of the examples of those wonders as well. So we'll get into all of that. And and he has wonders that he plans to do for us, to where he says that, like we talked about Isaiah 35, the land is supposed to basically bend to our will, or like pretty much look out for us, right? So the land was looking out for us, and those people were the people over there. Why is your land catching on fire? Like, that just don't make no sense. Like, you're in the midst of war and your land is catching on fire, when the Most High said that he was gonna have the land and the animals not bring harm to us, and we shall study war no more. So that should be strengthening for all of us, that those people over there are not the Most High's people, and we are. So all praises for that witness. That was very strong and powerful, and warms my heart to see, because looking at these words, man, it's it's like a second language we're trying to pick up, when it was really supposed to be our language that we knew offhand. So all praises for that. Did anyone else want to unmute and say anything? All right, family. Well, all praises to that. Um, we will continue. I guess I'll just let Abijah know if I'm able, or whatever's going on. But we can pray out, and just in your hearts and in your minds, just face to the set apart land.